بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. So Alhamdulillah, we finished a number of discussions. We finished Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi began with a discussion on refraining from the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, we remind ourselves the wording. He doesn't say refraining from sins, he says refraining from the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning you have to remind yourself exactly what a sin is. It's not just a sin. It's a disobedience, yani ma'asiyah. I'm making my Allah upset. And so he starts with the disobediences of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what he does is he begins with the body parts. He begins with the body parts. So we did the eyes, the ears, the tongue. And in the tongue we mentioned a number of discussions, inshallah. Or we already covered that, alhamdulillah, regarding the tongue. Then he goes on now to the next body parts. Thereafter, he'll say, you know what? This is the external, but the body parts are a reflection of your internal. And so then he'll start looking at the heart and discussing the issues with regard to the heart. So let's get started, inshallah. The discussion for today, Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, after he finishes talking about the tongue, he says, وَأَمَّا الْبَطْنُ. Now, in regard to the stomach, he comes to the stomach. وَأَمَّا الْبَطْنُ. Let me just find the text. There we are. فَاحْفَظْهُ عَنْ تَنَاوُلِ الْحَرَامِ وَالشُّبْهَةِ. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says that فَاحْفَظْهُ. Protect your stomach عن تناول الحرام, from those things which are haram. Not just eating those things that are haram, but acquiring those things that are haram. وَالشُّبْهَةِ. He says, don't just stop there. Don't just stop there. Go a step further. Make sure that you don't even go towards those things which are doubtful. وَحْرِصْ عَلَىٰ طَلَبِ الْحَلَالِ. Make every effort that you can, and whatever you earn, whatever you take in your life as financial, monetary gain, make sure that it's halal. فَإِذَا وَجَدْتَهُ. If you find that what you're earning is halal, فَحْرِصْ عَلَىٰ أَن تَقْتَصِرْ عَلَىٰ مَا دُونَ الشَّبَعِ. Let's assume that you have acquired this, and you're earning halal, you're buying halal. He says, don't suffice with that, that's not good enough for us. وَإِذَا وَجَدْتَهُ. When you find that you are earning halal, فَحْرِصْ عَلَىٰ أَن تَقْتَصِرَ عَلَىٰ مَا دُونَ الشَّبَعِ. Don't go overboard. Even once you've earned halal, don't go overboard. Don't go beyond what you need to go. فَإِنَّ الشَّبَعَ يُقَسِّ الْقَلْبِ. So don't eat beyond what you need to eat. Don't buy beyond what you need to buy. Don't give yourself luxuries beyond what you... And we'll discuss what's too much, what's not too much. If Allah's given somebody, can they spend, should they spend? All of these things. فَحْرِصْ عَلَىٰ أَن تَقْتَصِرَ عَلَىٰ مَا دُونَ الشَّبَعِ. He's saying don't go beyond the limits. فَإِنَّ الشَّبَعَ يُقَسِّ الْقَلْبِ. He gives us a warning. He says, well and truly, if you push the boundaries and you overfeed yourself, or you overclothe yourself, or you embellish yourself with all these additional things that you don't require, يُقَسِّ الْقَلْبِ. It will make your heart hard. It will harden your heart. And really think about this. That all the actions that you do on a day-to-day basis, it all comes down to your heart. A person with a soft heart is able to interact with their family members in a certain way. And a person with a hard heart acts with their family members in a certain way. All your interactions in life comes down to your heart. How I have worked on my heart will affect how my actions are. وَيُفْسِدُ الذِّهْنِ. He says not only that, but when you cover yourself and embellish yourself and wear those things and eat those things which will be of excess, يُفْسِدُ الذِّهْنِ. It will have an effect on your brain. It will have an effect on your mind. And your mind will be always thinking about these things. When it comes to choosing between people and things, you'll choose things. You won't think about the person. You won't think about the harms. وَيُبْتِلُ الْحِفْظِ. It will affect your memory. It will affect your memory. Eating excessively will affect the person's memory. وَيُثَقِّرُ الْأَعْضَاءَ عَنِ الْعِبَادَةِ وَالْعِلْمِ. And it will make the body lazy from worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will make the body lazy from seeking knowledge. I can't be bothered. It's too difficult. It's too far away. No. Is what Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, وَيُقَوِّ الشَّهْوَاتِ. And the biggest thing that we have to concern ourselves with, وَيُقَوِّ الشَّهْوَاتِ. It will strengthen, embolden your desires, your base desires, your want to fulfill your desires in the haram places. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, overfill yourself in every single capacity. These are the harms. وَيَنْصُرُ جُنُودَ الشَّيْطَانِ. And you're not helping yourself You're not helping the people around you. You're not helping your cause. You are helping the armies of shaitan. You are going down a route where it becomes easy for shaitan to just push you. You overeat, it comes for the time for salah. I'll pray later. I'll pray later. Makes you lazy. Makes you lazy. Sinning becomes easier for this person. وَالشِّبْعُ مِنَ الْحَلَالِ مَبْدَأُ كُلَّ شَرٍ فَكَيْفَ مِنَ الْحَرَامِ. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, you might have misunderstood what I'm saying here. I'm saying to you that overeating from the halal earnings is going to cause these problems. What about if you earned from halal? Haram. What if your earnings were from haram? Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, if you overindulge and your wealth is halal, that overindulging will have these effects on you. That you won't be in control of your nafs and your desires. What if a person overindulges and they go into haram? فَكَيْفَ مِنَ الْحَرَامِ. And so Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, وَطَلَبُ الْحَلَالِ فَرِيضَةٌ عَلَى كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ. Seeking a halal livelihood, earning halal, is faridatun ala kulli Muslim, is compulsory upon every single one of us. Every single one of us. وَالْعِبَادَةُ وَالْعِلْمِ مَعَ أَكْلِ الْحَرَامِ كَالْبِنَاءِ عَلَى السِّرْجِينِ وَهُوَ الزِّبْلِ. And Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says that, all your worship, all your seeking knowledge, all the good that you do, if at the same time you are eating haram, كَالْبِنَاءِ عَلَى السِّرْجِينِ. It's like that individual who's building on a pile of garbage. And that person who doesn't have a good foundation. He's trying to build a mansion. He's trying to build an amazing house. Imagine you see somebody building a mansion and you look at the report and it says that this earth or the ground over here, the soil is this or that, and there's problems with the soil. The ground is not solid. The foundation is weak. You'll say to this person, build as good a mansion as you want. You're wasting your time. Give it a few years and it'll collapse. That individual who's seeking knowledge. Seeking knowledge is easy. You're showing people, look, I'm seeking knowledge. Well, ibadah, I'm doing worship. I've been the first saf for salah. Everybody sees me praying salah. Everybody sees me as the pious one. All of these things, if it's whilst you're eating haram, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. That doesn't mean that a person then stops. And we'll come to some of these discussions regarding if for 40 days your a'mal are not accepted, what does that mean? All of these things. And so Imam Ghazali rahmatullah goes a step further. He says, فَإِذَا قَنِعَتْ فِي السَّنَةِ بِقَمِيسٍ خَشِنٍ. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, and Imam Ghazali's objective here, he always does this. He shows you the most extreme example. He'll show you the most extreme example, and he'll say, you guys think this is not possible. It's very easily possible. It's just we've become conditioned in a certain way. فَإِذَا قَنِعْتَ. If you are well and truly to be content and happy, فِي السَّنَةِ, in a single year, بِقَمِيسٍ خَشِنٍ, with a single piece of clothing. Khashinin, and even then it's something which is coarse, not something which is fine or embroidered. One piece of cloth for an entire year. That doesn't mean you're wearing the same cloth for 1 year. It means that you're washing it, you're cleaning it, but you're sufficing with one clothing, with one dress, with one article of clothing. وَفِي الْيَوْمِ, and in every single day, you suffice بِرَغِيفَيْنِ مِنَ الْخُشْكَارِ. You suffice with 2 flatbreads. Just two flatbreads. It's something they used to make in those times. We have flatbreads today as well. Min al-khushkar. Khushkar is from coarse bread. وَتَرَكْتَ التَّلَذُّذِ بِأَطَايِبِ الْأُدُمِ. And if you imagine you were to leave the pleasure of the best of flavorings and the best of seasonings. You leave all of these things. Your clothes are simple. And your food is simple. Just one set of clothes and one meal. لَمْ يُعْوِزْكَ مِنَ الْحَلَالِ مَا يَكْفِيكَ. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, that in reality is plenty for you. That's sufficient for you. And Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, فَالْحَلَالُ كَثِيرٌ. He says, if you were to really sit down and think about it, this would genuinely be sufficient for an individual. Sufficient for an individual. In this time, you can understand it to be a pair of clothes for work, a pair of clothes for when you're going to the masjid, and a pair of clothes for when you're relaxing, etc. It seems a very extreme scenario. And Imam Ghazali rahmatullah presents this for a reason. He's not saying this is what I want you guys to do. He's trying to teach us something. He says even if it was one piece of clothing and one type of food every single day, even then Imam Ghazali says you would not have an excuse to say that I need to go into haram. What's he saying? Even if it was one piece of clothing, even if you could only eat one type of food, even then it's easy for you to acquire the halal. Then he takes a step back and he says, but Allah has permitted for you all of these clothes, and all of this food, and all of this drink. What excuse do we have to fall into haram? We go to buy a bar of chocolate. How many options do we have? How many different options do we have? Imam Ghazali says, if you had just one option, that is sufficient for you to just live off this and survive on halal. Imam Ghazali says, but Allah didn't create it like that. فَالْحَلَالُ كَثِيرٌ. There's so many options of halal. How can an individual even have the audacity to say, I had to fall into haram. I had no option. You have so many options. We have so many options. Especially, that's Imam Ghazali talking in his time. In our time, when sometimes you walk past the bread section, you just get amazed at how many different types of breads there are. In Sainsbury's, I was walking past, and there's a bread which is completely burnt. And that's a type of bread they sell. I can't remember what it's called now. But it's entirely black, and that's a type of bread. And you just think that, what's the range, the shapes, the size? And we'll all know when we go on holidays, and we make sure that we get the breakfast, the breakfast at the holidays, the different types of cheese and the different types of this and the different types of this. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, what excuse do we have? If you had to live off one piece of clothing and one article of food, it's possible. It's difficult, but it's possible. That's not our situation. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, Alhamdulillah, Allahumma laka alhamdu wa laka shukr. So many options that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. So many different, options that we have other than the haram. وَلَيْسَ عَلَيْكَ أَن تَتَيَقَّنَ بِبَاطِلِ الْأُمُورِ. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, look for the halal, earn the halal. However, he says, when it comes to looking for halal and haram, you don't need to go into the obscure and inner matters. Don't overdo it either. Look for halal, but don't go to the extremes, and we'll discuss this. بَلْ عَلَيْكَ أَن تَحْتَرِزَ مِمَّا تَعْلَمُ أَنَّهُ حَرَامٌ. He says, let me give you some basic principles. If you know something is haram, avoid it. Principle number one. If you know something is haram, avoid it. There are things that we know. When you pick up an article of food and you look at the back of it, you'll know that this has gelatin inside. This specific gelatin is haram. This has alcohol inside. Alcohol is haram. There are certain things you look at and you know it's haram. أو تظن أنه حرام ظنا. Or you have good reason to assume something is haram. If you have good reason to assume something is haram, then avoid that. مع ما حصل من علامة ناجزة. He says, especially when your assumption is based on a clear indication. There's some sort of a clear indication that tells you this food is going to be haram. This food is going to be haram. Now, the fuqaha give us three basic principles. And I'm going to digress slightly to have this discussion on halal and haram. Because there's always this discussion. That can we eat from this place, and can we eat from this place, and can we eat this item? Number one, generally speaking, you can trust the word of another Muslim when business is not involved. What does that mean? When you go to somebody's house and somebody offers you food and you know this person's a Muslim, they pray salah, don't ask them, is your food halal? It's offensive. If you know that person and if you trust that person, yes, now there are people who will be on a higher level of caution. There are some people I know who will not eat meat in this community, who will not eat meat unless they've slaughtered it with their own hands. Chicken or something like that, they will not eat it, right? There are individuals. For that person, it's a different matter. For him, he'll probably avoid even going to somebody's house. He'll take his own food with him, right? Little pack lunch or something. But for the general case, if you can trust, it's a Muslim brother, they've invited you to their house, Ramadan is coming, they've invited you for iftar, don't go to the house and about to sit down and say, is the food halal? If you can trust that individual, the scholars say that, inshallah, bismillah, eat. Scholars have mentioned this, Fatawa Hindiya, Raddul Muhtar, other places, at the Fuqaha mention that you can trust the general word of another when business is not involved. They're not trying to sell an item to you. Number two, however, when there is reason to be cautious, it's recommended to take the means to make sure that it is halal. When is this instance? And we have to be realistic. You go to a takeaway, for example. You go to a takeaway. Now, you don't know if it's halal, you don't know if it's haram. Right? And it might say halal outside. But just ask. Just ask. Do what you can do and do what you should do. Ask the individual, is it halal? There are different levels of how you can hold yourself. And I advise that you hold yourself to the highest standard. And we are developing at the moment, inshallah, possibly just after Ramadan, a fiqh of halal and haram. A proper series on this. Why? People ask all the time they ask, Mufti, give us some dua, give us some wadhifa, give us something that I can pray, which will make all my du'as accepted, which will get rid of all of my difficulties. There isn't some formula like this. There is one formula. Make your life halal. A person who earns halal, eats halal, it comes in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, this individual will be what's known in the hadith as mustajabud da'wat. His du'as will be accepted. His dua, there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, an individual, he's roaming the deserts. And the hadith says his hair is disheveled, his clothes are a mess in tatters. You know, if somebody like this came to you and they said, please give me some water, please give me some, you'd give them. They look a mess. You'd feel pity on them. They say that imagine this person is walking through the desert and he makes dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The hadith mentions, فَأَنَّا يُسْتَجَابُ. How will his dua be accepted? مَأْكُلُهُ haram. His food is haram. مَشْرَبُهُ haram. His drink is haram. His clothing is haram. Every aspect of it is haram. How is his du'as going to be accepted? I want my salah to be accepted. I want my du'as to be accepted. I want in my household to be pious individuals. How can I expect this to be the case when their body and their flesh and their part, every single part of them is nourished with haram? If my body is nourished with haram, my soul is nourished with haram. How is my du'as going to be accepted? You want your du'as to be accepted? I want my du'as to be accepted. Be cautious. With that hadith in mind, go to a takeaway and then ask. Be genuine to yourself. Don't wait for the fatwa. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ which says that there'll come a time, وَإِنْ أَفْتَاكَ النَّاسِ, even if the people give you fatwa, the people, who's going to give fatwa? It'll be the scholars giving the fatwa. إِسْتَفْتِ قَلْبَكَ. There'll be that your heart will be saying, I'm not convinced. I'm really not convinced. There's a fatwa here, there's a fatwa there, and everyone's saying it. I'm not saying what you advise others. This is for me and for you. Each person, for yourself. Hold yourself to the highest standard. What somebody else does is their choice. We're not here to go and preach to other people. Every single one of us is here for myself. And so what standard will I hold myself to? The highest standard, inshallah. Then when I want to look for halal, I will convince myself that this is halal. And if it's awkward for the first time, or if you know you're going out to a place to eat, you can get in advance and find out. You can do your research. We need to do these things. So that's number two. That if you're going somewhere out to eat, generally speaking, be cautious. Be cautious. You don't need to go to that extreme where you then say, you get the supplier's number and you say, I'm going to come to your abattoir and I want to see. Again, that level, if a person goes to that level, that's good for them. But the necessity from the Shari'i perspective is you are convinced that this is halal. Not that he's convinced you, but you are genuinely convinced. You can't lie to yourself. You can't lie to yourself. It's not a case of, he said it's halal, bismillah, let's go. Convince yourself. Really convince yourself. Your du'as rely on this. Your ibadat rely on this. Every single aspect of you relies on this food. And number three, when there is reasonable fear or concern that certain meat or certain food is haram, then you avoid. Then you avoid. Especially if you're doubting, 51%, it seems haram, it seems problematic. I would go as far as saying, even if it's like a couple of percent, that there's something, avoid it. And there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and Ali radiallahu ta'ala who says, well, دَعَ مَا يَرِيبُكْ لِمَا لَا يَرِيبُكْ. Leave those things which make you doubt for those things which don't make you doubt. Go to a shop and you want to buy something, it makes you doubt. Leave it for something that doesn't make you doubt. Get something else instead. Go for another option. There's so much variety. So much variety. And the best thing, I always say I've said it to somebody else as well, learn to cook yourself. Learn to cook yourself. I'm talking to the guys here. Learn to cook. It's amazing. It's a skill worth learning. And it's therapeutic as well. Abdurrahman, I've told you this, haven't I? Huh? Many times. It's therapeutic. And you learn to cook yourself. What was the last meal you cooked? Pasta. Everybody knows how to make pasta, especially university students. Pasta. Learn to cook. Learn to cook. Seriously. Inshallah. And the easiest way to cook, what's the easiest way to cook? Help your mom in the kitchen. Help your mothers in the kitchen. Seriously, a lot of the cooking I learned was from helping my mom in the kitchen. But the problem with our parents when they cook is she'll just chuck a bit of this and chuck a bit of that and chuck a bit of that. You don't know what's got in. They don't measure. They don't have any hisab. They don't have any measurements. It's just they know what they're doing. And they just chuck a bit of everything in. Subhanallah. Ajib, Allah provides. Now, this discussion regarding earning, etc. So we'll come on to this. So there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, just to give us an understanding that, you know, Nabi Sallallahu said, قال, it's narrated by Imam Ahmad rahimahullah ta'ala, قال اثنتان يكرههما ابن آدم. There are two things which the son of Adam, he dislikes. He hates two things. Al-maut, number one, death. وَالْمَوْتُ خَيْرٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِ مِنَ الْفِتْنَةِ. And the Prophet ﷺ said, and know that death is better for a believer than the trials and tribulations of this world. Now there's a lengthy discussion which I did in one of the previous Jum'ahs, that should a person make dua for death? No. A person should make dua for a long life. That the longer the life Allah gives you, the more good you can do. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. I'm digressing quite a bit, but it's important. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, amazing hadith. There was a companion who became a martyr, shaheed. He went in the path of Allah, he became martyred. There were two companions, both of them accepted Islam at the same time. The first one became a martyr. A year later, the other one passed away, normal death. A year later. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned, the one who passed away a year later is in a higher status in Jannah. Think about this. The first one passed away, died a martyr. He was martyred. A year later, the other one passed away normal death. So the companions asked the Prophet ﷺ, why was this? So the Prophet ﷺ said, did he not pray a year extra of salah? Did he not fast a year extra? Did he not do good for a year extra? Subhanallah. You know, there's so many people who have this, not anymore, alhamdulillah, but they had this idea that we want to go in the path of Allah, and we want to do this, and we want to do that. Khair, what's this hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam saying? Look for a long life. That I can do good, I can benefit people, I can help people. A long life. Don't make dua that, oh Allah, give me death. Make dua, oh Allah, grant me martyrdom in your path, whatever that means. Martyrdom doesn't mean that you have to pick up a knife and na'udhu billah. That is not martyrdom. But you could be in the path of Allah, meaning you're fighting against your nafs, you're fighting against your desires, you're calling people towards Islam. What is the objective? You know, scholars discuss, this is proper digressing now. Scholars discuss this idea of jihad, and the scholars discuss in the books of fiqh, is jihad a good thing or a bad thing? It's a very technical discussion. And they'll say that jihad as the concept is something we want to avoid in every case scenario. And if you want to, the best case scenario, advise somebody towards Islam and they accept. When oppression takes place, or when some sort of thing, that's when the concept of jihad comes about. So what? Because before jihad comes about, there's a number of stages. You call them towards Islam, you advise them towards Islam, you ask them to pay the tax, live in this country quietly, etc., all of these things. None of this is working, then you have to, as a final resort, when oppression is taking place, you go down this route. So the scholars say that it's something you want to avoid as much as you can. It's something you want to avoid as much as you can. But ajib, we have some ajib ideas. And so the Prophet ﷺ from this hadith tells us that living a long life and doing good, ibadat, worship, is better for this individual. But the Prophet ﷺ is saying, and when you make dua that, oh Allah, grant me death in your path. Shahadatan fi sabilik. Whether that's seeking knowledge, that's the path of Allah. Whether that's yearning to do good, going for Hajj, going for Umrah. There's a friend of mine who's in Madinatul Munawwara. He's been living there for a number of years now. He's born there. He's a scholar. His mother performed Hajj for the first time last year at the age of, I think, 70 or 80. 3 days later, he sent a text saying his mother passed away. The first Hajj she performed, she was extremely pious. Shahadatan fi sabili wa fi baladi rasulik. In the path of Allah, fi baladi rasulik, in the home, in the city of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What a death. That's what we should aspire for. And Allah give us a beautiful death. Ameen. We should ask for husnul khatima, a good death. And so this hadith, al-maut, death is a good thing for a believer. Don't be scared of death. Al-mautu khayrun lil-mu'min min al-fitna. It's better for you than trials and tribulations. وَيَكْرَهُ قِلَّةَ الْمَالِ. And the second thing Ibn Adam fears, the son of Adam fears, we fear, قِلَّةُ الْمَالِ. So, lacking in wealth, less wealth, qillatul mal, a deficiency in our wealth. وَقِلَّةُ الْمَالِ أَقَلُّ لِلْحِسَابِ. The Prophet ﷺ says, let me give you some glad tidings for those people who don't have much wealth. قِلَّةُ الْمَالِ أَقَلُّ لِلْحِسَابِ. On the day of judgment, you'll have less to account for. Really, this is an advice for those people who have lots of wealth also. And it doesn't mean get rid of your wealth. It means that you have to give account for your wealth. Be smart how you spend your wealth. Be very careful how a person spends their wealth. But then some of you might be thinking, okay, fine. From this, youngsters might be listening and thinking, see, we don't need to get a hard education. We don't need to study. That's it, whatever comes our way, whatever Allah gives us. So for them, the Prophet ﷺ knew that there'd be people like that also. And so for them, the Prophet ﷺ's hadith, which is narrated by Imam Bukhari rahmatullah alayhi. And Bukhari rahmatullah alayhi says, ما أكل أحد طعاما قط خيرا من أن يأكل من عمل يده. That no person has eaten any food, any morsel of food, better than that which he earned with his own hands. Not relying on somebody else, not relying on a system, not that which I earned with my own hands. And if that wasn't sufficient for an individual, the Prophet ﷺ said, you think you want the best of examples? وَإِنَّ نَبِيَّ اللَّهِ دَاوُودَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ. Verily the Prophet of Allah, Dawood alayhi salam, كَانَ يَأْكُلُ مِنْ عَمَلِ يَدِهِ. He used to eat with the working of his own hands. What did Dawood alayhi salam used to say? Allah mentioned in the Quran, وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ صَنْعَةَ لَبُوسٍ لَكُمْ. Dawood alayhi salam was taught the ability to fashion coats of armor. He used to make armor, welding armor with his own hands. And with that he used to sell and he used to make the money. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to look after the flock shepherd. And then he was a businessman under Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha. Business, earning halal livelihood. And there's nothing better than your earning of your own hands. But for some of you, that's still not enough. Some of you are like, no, I want to go in the path of Allah. This is what I want to do. So let me give you a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ for even that person. Beautiful hadith of Tabrani, which I mentioned multiple times. Admarra alayya an-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ka'ab ibn Ujra is a companion and he says that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam passed by. فرأى أصحاب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في جلدة ونشاط. A person walks past the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم sat in his gathering. Somebody walks past. The companions see this person and they see في جلدة ونشاط. He was somebody who was strong and somebody they knew he's very smart. This is a very smart person, very intellectual, very strong person. He's a useful person. He's somebody who can be of use. فقالوا يا رسول الله, brains and brawn. As we say, brawn and brains. So he had both Allah had given. So the companions sat there, they said, Ya Rasulullah, Prophet of Allah, لو كان هذا في سبيل الله. How amazing it would be if this guy would go in the path of Allah, if he'd go in jihad, if he'd go in this. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, Sahih hadith, إن كان خرج يسعى على ولده صغارا فهو في سبيل الله. Don't make assumptions. If this person, kharaja, yas'a, he has left his home and he is earning a livelihood, ala waladihi sigharan, to take care of his young children, fahuwa fi sabilillah, he is in the path of Allah. You're saying send him in the path of Allah. If he's earning for his innocent children at home, he is in the path of Allah. All of you who are working, every single one of us earning a halal livelihood for the sake of our children. Antum fi sabilillah. You are in the path of Allah. My Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it. وَإِن كَانَ خَرَجَ. He didn't stop there. If he has left. يَسْعَى عَلَى أَبَوَيْنِ شَيْخَيْنِ كَبِيرَيْن. He is earning a halal livelihood to take care of his senior parents. His elderly parents. They can't earn for themselves anymore. He's earning for them. فَهُوَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. He's in the path of Allah. Those of you who don't have anybody to take care of, think I've got nobody to take care of. وَإِن كَانَ خَرَجَ يَسْعَى عَلَى نَفْسِهِ. If he is out there earning just to make himself independent. يَعُفُّهَا فَهُوَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. To make himself independent from begging people, asking people, looking at other people's things. فَهُوَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. That person is earning to make himself independent from begging people with that intention. فَهُوَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. وَإِن كَانَ خَرَجَ يَسْعَى رِيَاءً. Then the Prophet ﷺ says, yes, if you're out there, whatever you're doing, whether you're earning money, whether you're seeking knowledge, whether you're a scholar, student, whatever, if you are doing riya'an wa mufakharatan, you're doing it to show off. You're doing it to show off to the people. فَهُوَ فِي سَبِيلِ الشَّيْطَانِ. That person is in the path of shaitan. No matter what you're doing then, whether you're earning, whether you're studying, whatever you're doing, the Prophet ﷺ said intention. Intention should be pure. Intention should be pure. And that's the main thing. That's Hadith of Tabrani. And so for those individuals, for those youngsters who are lazy, who don't want to, you want to go fi sabilillah, go and earn a proper livelihood. Stop being, be responsible. Be responsible. Final point we have to discuss when we talk about halal and haram, which again we'll have a proper series, a proper lengthy one on halal and haram and all the technical stuff, numbers and this and that, everything. Final point, your rizq is written. What you're going to earn is written. Now there seems a bit of a contradiction here. If it's written, why bother earning? Why bother making the effort? Hani muqaddar, it's written, if it comes, it'll come. If it doesn't, it doesn't come. The scholars give an amazing example here. They say, look, your rizq, it's like Allah has placed your rizq in a house. Your rizq, you can either walk through the door, there's somebody guarding it, and they'll give you your amount of rizq for that day, and you walk out. That's how you'll get your rizq on a daily basis. Or there's another way you can get your rizq. You can climb in through the window, take as much as you want, and climb back out. Two ways you can get your rizq. Number one, you can earn it the halal way. We're coming to that other question in a minute. You can earn it the halal way. Number two, you can earn it the haram way. The scholars mention, whatever's written for you, you're going to get. Whatever's written for you, you're going to get. An opportunity comes to you, and it's a haram way of earning money. Your mind is saying, I need to take this money, I need this money, especially when you're young. Because when you're young, you don't have much money. So the opportunity to make easy money comes. Wallahi, you can climb through that window and steal from yourself. You are going to get that. Kana muqaddar, it was written. Allah will give you exactly what's written for you. Be patient. Be patient. The only reason you want the money in the first place is to show off to somebody else. It's not even for you. You want to buy this designer and that designer. It's for somebody else. Be patient. That money will come. It's muqaddar. It's muqaddar. Which brings us to the question, and why bother earning then if it's written? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions to us that not only do you rely on Allah, but you have to tie the camel. Allah has made this world a place of cause and effect. Allah has made this world a place of cause and effect. When you put the cause, when you go and work, you get a good education, and you study hard, and you go for work, the effect of that is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you. Allah will give you. You can either get that through begging, through asking somebody, you'll get it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that you need to put the effort in. Strive, put the effort in, and Allah will give you. But not only Allah will give you, but better than that, Allah will give you barakah. Allah will give you blessings. And we'll discuss this in a lot more detail when we do our halal and haram discussions later on. This isn't the point, and we've sidetracked considerably. But it's important for the youngsters, especially. You have to put the effort in. And inshallah, through that effort will be blessing and barakah. That's why we put the effort in. That's why we put the effort in. That you put the effort in and you strive with the intention that, oh Allah, I'm doing this so that I feed my family. Allah, I'm doing this so I'm independent. I don't have to beg people. I don't have to ask people. That intention is so lofty that inshallah what you earn, Allah will put barakah in that. And barakah means it will go a long way. What does barakah mean? Scholars have different discussions on what barakah means. You'll buy a mobile with haram and you'll drop the mobile down the toilet the next day. That's barakah. That's how it works. Or you'll buy a mobile which it lasts you 2-3 years, and then the company will call you and say, we'd like to swap your mobile out and give you a new mobile or something like that. It will be barakah. There'll be blessings. You'll buy the best car with the haram money, and it will just cause you problems and problems and problems. And it might not even be the car causing you problems. Listen carefully to the idea of barakah. It could mean that this car will take you towards sin. Barakah could also be the concept that you ruin your akhirah. So you'll buy this vehicle, you'll buy this car, but constantly it will take you towards sin. Constantly it will take you towards sin. It's ruining your life. You'll buy that mobile with the haram money. It didn't get damaged. It lasted me perfectly for 3 years. But it will have taken you towards sin. Barakah. When you connect yourself and you do things the proper way, there'll be blessing inside of it. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put khair in those things for us. So, Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, فَأَمَّا الْمَعْلُومُ فَظَاهِرٌ. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, look. In regard to the haram and the halal, it's clear. It's clear. You know what's halal and what's haram. وَأَمَّا الْمَظْنُونَ بِعَلَامَةٍ. There are some things when it comes to earning halal and haram, there's a bit of doubt. In these things, be careful. For example, he says, فَهُوَ مَالُ السُّلْطَانُ وَعُمَّالِهِ. the money, the wealth that's given to you from government officials, from rulers, from leaders. Because there's a possibility that the money that's coming to you from them could be for a specific reason, could be with some other cause, some other motive. And I say for the same thing for students. As a teacher, if a student gives you a gift, be very careful. Be very careful. And their intentions, what they might be, their objectives, what they might be, you be very careful. And teachers are easily bribed. Teachers are easily bribed. Don't. Same thing here. If there's doubt, Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, you can say no. You can step back. وَمَالُ مَنْ لَا كَسْبَ لَهُ إِلَّا مِنَ النِّيَاحَةِ أو بيع الخمر أو الربا أو المزامير. There's an individual, and you know he has no other job other than he sells alcohol. Be cautious from the food that comes to you from them, because that individual who is not concerned about where his money comes from, why will he be concerned about what he gives to you, what he feeds to you? And so he gives a number of examples of an individual who's in these things. حتى علمت أن أكثر مالي حرام قطعا فما تأخذه من يده. The general rule, Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, is look at the majority. He's saying be careful. If the majority of what this person is earning is problematic, then avoid. Now again, Imam Ghazali is not saying now go and get his accounts and take a look through his accounts and say, I want to see your bank statement for the previous 3 months before I come to your house and eat. I want to see what you've been earning. No, Imam Ghazali is saying, if this person externally, publicly, openly has the audacity to sin like this, he's willing to sell alcohol and he's willing to do this and he's willing to do this publicly, then be cautious regarding this individual. What they do in their private life is different. That's between him and Allah. But publicly, if he's like this, then you have a clear sign for you to say, you know what, this could be questionable. This is questionable. If they're not interested in the alcohol they're selling, then what can I say about the meat? What can I say about the food? What can I say about anything? You have to be careful. فَهُوَ حَرَامٌ لِأَنَّهُ الْغَالِبْ عَلَى الظَّنِّ. And Ghazali rahmatullah says, for him, Imam Ghazali says, that if the majority seems problematic, you should avoid it. Avoid it. وَمِنَ الْحَرَامِ الْمَحَضِ. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, but you know, everybody knows that there's those things which are halal, there's those things which are haram, there's those things which are a bit dodgy, you're not sure about, so you avoid them. But there are those things which we know are haram, but we're very lazy about. We don't care about. He says, وَمِنَ الْحَرَامِ. He says, from also those things which are haram, مَا يُؤْكَلُ مِنَ الْأَوْقَافِ مِنْ غَيْرِ شَرْطِ الْوَاقِفِ. Those things which you take, those things which you eat from the religious endowments. What does this mean? From the waqf. From the waqf. Somebody leaves a book for the masjid. Somebody leaves a book for the masjid. You start reading it and you take it home and you make it yours. Waqf, the water in the masjid. And I'll just turn the tap on and watch the water as it flows down. It's Fajr time, isn't it? So you just want to watch the water as it flows, as you get the courage to put the water on your face. You're just watching it as it thinking. Somebody comes and sits next to you, he finishes his wudu, walks off, and you're still making intention that I'm going to make my wudu. That kind of waqf, something which belongs to waqf. Something which belongs to waqf. And you wouldn't use that in your own home, but you'll use it, somebody else's stuff. Heating, the masjid heating, that's waqf. That's haram to spend from that, to take excess from that. Unnecessarily haram. And so he's giving these indications. فَمَنْ لَمْ يَشْتَغِلْ بِالتَّفَقُّهِ. He gives an example. There's an individual, there's a madrasa, there's a place of education. And he goes to this madrasa on a daily basis and he eats from their food. But he's not there to study. He just knows that, these guys, they're teaching students, they serve food, I'm just going to join them for food. But they're not there to study. You're not enrolled into the madrasa. How can you take something which you've not been given permission for? Permission is really important. Permission is really important. Be very careful. Seriously, sometimes we just do it for a little chocolate or a sweet or something like that. Was it worth it? If it's for a chocolate or a sweet, I'll buy you a chocolate or a sweet. But is it worth it? Really, it's not worth it. Ghazali rahmatullah says, sometimes we think these are minor things. Minor things. There was one of my teachers. We were traveling once. It was to Bolton we were traveling. I've mentioned this to some of the students because they asked about halal haram. We're traveling to Bolton, and Bolton is up north. It's, if you've not heard of it, Preston, mashallah, blessed place where I'm from. So Bolton is close by. So we took a train, but we didn't buy a ticket. So we thought we'll buy it when we're there. It was night, it was the evening. So we go to the ticket shutters. It's not like London. you have to pay for a ticket. It's like villages, you pay for a ticket, you get a little thing here in New York. Now you guys just did it, swipe it, and alhamdulillah. So we went to the booth, the thing they have to buy the ticket. It was closed. Nobody's there. So we thought we'll buy it on the train. We get on the train. When you get on the train, there's none of the attendant comes around. Who cares? It's up north. No one's interested. So nobody comes to ask for it. So we get off, and my teacher said that nobody came for the thingy. So I said, "What do we do?" So he says, "Ask the when you get off the train, there's somebody stood there. So ask them." So we asked them. We said that, "Look, we just took this train, and what do we do?" So the person said, he smiled and he goes, "You got a free ride, mate. Don't worry about it. Off you go." So me being me, I was like, all right. I went back to my teacher. He said, "It's okay, we can go." He says, "Does he own the train? Is it his business?" He says, "We use the service. He doesn't have the right to say that it's okay, you cannot use it." He says, "Buy 2 tickets and come back." So I went to this individual and said, "We want to buy 2 tickets from there to here." He says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Basically from there to here." He says, "But you're here." So I need the tickets. So bought the tickets, went back to my teacher. He says, "Now put them in the bin. Put them in the bin." That was right of that business. That was a right of that business. Like some of our teachers or scholars, they think like this. This level of ihtiyat. Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi once heard that a sheep had been stolen in his village, in his community. Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi didn't eat sheep. He went to the local farmers and he asked them, "How long is the life expectancy of a sheep?" They told him, "This is the life expectancy of a sheep." He said, "I will not eat sheep for that many number of years." What if that one stolen sheep is slaughtered and that sheep comes my way and I eat that by accident? He wouldn't have been questionable in the court of Allah. But the cautiousness of the scholars was like this. These things which look small, this idea, a child ticket. So you push it. Somebody, for me, when I was a child, I looked like an adult. So I couldn't get away with this even as a child, But many people get to the age of 18, 19, 20, 21. They look young, so there's a child ticket. It seems like an easy option. But wallahi, it's in the court of Allah, a person will be questioned. It's deception. For a 50p more, but it's barakah in that, inshallah. It's barakah in that. Put that in your mind. Because this is why I say that rizq is written. Think about it. You're saving how much money? 50p adds up to, let's say, £500. That £500 you've saved up, that was written for you. Had you bought the normal tickets, that £500 would have come to you some other way. It's written to you. Don't climb through the window just to take your money. Walk through and get it at the right time. When it's written for you, it will come to you, inshallah. And this is the principles in life. If a person has up until now done something wrong, make tawbah to Allah. Allah is extremely forgiving. We've all made mistakes. And sometimes we overlook it. Sometimes we don't even think that deep. That's why we're here to learn. That's why we're here to have these discussions. And we make ourselves individuals that people see a Muslim and they know these people are honest. These people are trustworthy. That I can trust this individual. That's how we should become. inshallah. وقد ذكرنا مداخل الشبهات والحلال والحرام في كتاب مفرد من كتب إحياء علوم الدين. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah does a quick plug. He says, you know what? This isn't the discussion to get into halal and haram. This is not. Over here we're just discussing. I'm telling you that Allah has given you a stomach. Make sure what you earn and what goes inside it is legitimate. Make sure that the clothing that you wear is legitimate. Make sure every single aspect, what you're earning is halal and what you're buying is halal. That's what he says. He says, if you want to discuss in detail, madakhil al-shubuhat wal-halal wal-haram, all of the doubts and the halal and the haram, then you're going to have to go and take a look in my other book, Ihya Ulumuddin. The translation of the book is The Revival of the Islamic Sciences. You can purchase it. It's a big book. Ihya Ulumuddin. He just does a quick plug. He says, look, go take a look there. I've discussed all of this. I'm not going to start again here. فَعَلَيْكَ بِطَلَبِ. Go look for this book. فإن معرفة الحلال وطلبه فريضة على كل مسلم كالصلوات الخمس. And Imam Ghazali Rahmatullah says, just to make sure you go and get the book, let me give you a reason to go and get the book. Remember what I said to you. Halal and haram, knowing the halal and haram is faridatun ala kulli Muslim. It's necessary on every single Muslim. And the 5 times salah, all of these things, for a person to know it's necessary. So Imam Ghazali Rahmatullah ends the discussion on the stomach there. And like I said, inshallah, a proper series on the fiqh of halal and haram we're actually developing at the moment, and we'll be delivering that soon, inshallah. So, and that will cover everything. In that will cover everything. I think it's going to end up being like about 6 or 7 sessions as it looks so far. So Allah give us tawfiq, inshallah. وَأَمَّا الْفَرَجِ. Then Imam Ghazali rahmatullah goes on to the next body part. وَأَمَّا الْفَرْجِ, the private parts. فَاحْفَظْهُ عَنْ كُلِّ مَا حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, I don't need to say much on this. فَاحْفَظْهُ عَنْ كُلِّ مَا حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى. Protect your private parts from everything which Allah has made haram. وَكُنْ كَمَا قَالَ اللَّهُ تَبَارَكَ وَتَعَالَى. He says, you know what? The words of Allah are sufficient for you here. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ إِلَّا عَلَى أَزْوَاجِهِمْ. He says, وَالَّذِينَ, those individuals. Allah is talking about a group of individuals that they are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the qualities Allah mentions regarding those people who are close to Him, هُمْ لِفُرُوجِهِمْ حَافِظُونَ, they protect their private parts. Wallahi, if there's no other reason for a person to protect their private parts other than this, that you will be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the qurb of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the ma'rifah and the recognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the love and the attention of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing else. You won't get anything in this world. Nothing but Allah's attention. Allah, when a person's passing away, Allah will say, Ya ayyatuha nafsul mutma'inna. Oh, that nafs who is mutma'in with me, who is happy with me. Irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiyah. Return to your Lord. Radiyatan mardiyah. Allah is happy with you. And you are happy with Allah. Allah saying to us that I am happy with you. Allah, not a human saying. When our parents say to us, I'm happy with you. I'm proud of what you did. How much do we feel? You overhear a conversation where somebody asks you, are you proud of your son? Yes, I'm proud of my son. How happy it is. Allah is saying, the creator of every single thing says, I am happy with you. راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. Enter amongst my special slaves. Enter my Jannah. If that was the only reason, it's sufficient for us to protect ourselves. It's sufficient for us to protect ourselves. He says, protect yourselves, protect yourselves. وَلَا تَصِلُوا إِلَىٰ حِفْظِ الْفَرْجِ. He doesn't go into much detail because he says that, look, you will not be able to protect your private parts إِلَّا بِحِفْظِ الْعَيْنِ عَنِ النَّظَرِ, until you do not master the ability to control your eyes. وَحِفْظِ الْقَلْبِ عَنِ الْفِكْرِ, and until you don't manage to control your heart and your mind. Control these 3 and you'll control your private parts. Control these 3. Control, and the problem with the eyes is you can throw your glance. Your hands, it's where you are. Your eyes can be anywhere. And the mind can be anywhere. And so Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, control your eyes and control your mind and your heart. And that's it. Your private parts will be protected. He goes a step further and he says, you want to control your eyes and your mind, and you want to have the willpower to look down. وَحِفْظِ الْبَطَنِ عَنِ الشُّبْهَةِ. Control your stomach. Control your stomach. Why does Imam Ghazali say this? If you have the willpower to control what you eat, if you have the willpower to control what the halal things you eat, then you will have the willpower against the haram. Imam Ghazali makes and this is why the scholars say that if you struggle with your private parts, fast. Fast. Why? Most people say, oh, we fast, but it doesn't help us. How will the fasting help? If you do a genuine fast, and you're fasting properly, you're avoiding food, you're avoiding drink, not just then iftar comes and you eat as much as you can and you stockpile for the next day, and then suhoor comes and you're just adding on top of that as though you need more, and then the next day you just Ajib. No, not that kind of fasting. Ghazali wants to fast properly. And then Imam Ghazali discusses in Ihya Ulumuddin the 3 levels of fasting, the 3 types of fasting. There's a level of fasting which is the general person. He says, and the general person's fasting, he shreds. He says, this person sins, and this person does this, and this person does this, and we're thinking, subhanAllah, that's my fast. And then he says, there's that person's fasting who cares about his fast a little bit. And then he says he fasts, but he doesn't sin. He doesn't know why he's fasting. He just fasts, but doesn't sin. I don't even fall into that category. And then he says there's those people who actually are fasting, the proper fasters. And then he talks about them as well. That's a different discussion. But for inna hadith, Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, control your eyes, your mind and your heart. And I'll go a step further for the youngsters. The easiest way to do this, good company. Good company. Good company. Seriously, it will have a massive impact. Company means the people that you interact with on your mobiles. Good company means the people you see on a day-to-day basis. And if you have to spend time in bad company, then fix that bad company with good company. What does that mean? If you have to go to work and you know you're going to be in the company of a person who for 4 hours you're in bad company, get back home and go find good company. Go and sit in the company of a scholar. Go and sit in the company of a student. Go and find these scholars. And wallahi, it will have an effect on you. Wallahi, genuine scholars will have an effect on a person's heart. They will save a person from sinning. They will save a person from sinning. That effect that you will gain, just sitting in the masjid, the company of the angels. What's the quality of the angels? They don't sin. They don't sin. The company you keep, al-mar'u ala dini khalili. The Prophet also mentioned in the hadith that a person is on the way of life, the methodology of their friend. Your friend is good, wallahi, the chances of you being good will be good. And there's so many papers written on this. So many, as humans, we are social beings. We are social beings. We take from our surroundings. We take impact from our surroundings. And a step further, I mentioned this once as well to a couple of the students, is to go into quantum mechanics here. Quantum mechanics, there's this discussion in quantum mechanics regarding the wave and the particle. And so when when you shoot the quantum wave, if somebody asks me afterwards, I'll send you a proper link so you can actually understand it from a physicist. I am no physicist. When you observe the wave, it functions as a particle. And when you don't observe it, it functions differently. And in a summary, the easiest way to explain it is when scientists actually put a camera and they watched the wave, it acted in a completely different way every single time. And when they removed the camera, etc., and they weren't observing it, they then let it do what it wanted. The result was something completely else. They were basically hitting the wave onto a wall at the back. And that wall, they had put 2 slits in between. And so every time they would watch it, it would go through that slit, and it would go through both, and it would go through none. It just made no sense. And so then they'd watch it, and it would act differently. They would stop watching it, it would go back to the old way. They would watch it, it would quantum mechanics. And it's not pseudoscience, it's legit science. What are we understanding from this? Everything in this world is social. Things take an effect from other things. And just looking at something, just spending time with something has an effect on something, and it makes it react differently. And they then remove the human element. And so let's put something which can't be affected because of maybe there's radiation, or maybe there's this. None of that. It still happened. They put it behind the glass. Same thing. And things take effect. Social. Allah shows this through the world. Everything takes effect from something else. Your company is so important. Parents, if you want to know where your children are going, look at their company. It's a massive indicator. I personally don't know of a bigger indicator for a person's potential route other than their company. From my minimal experience with interacting with people and youngsters and this and that, majority of the time, it's the company you keep. Whether on your mobiles, whether in your friends, all of these things. You want to control your private parts, control your eyes, your mind, and your heart. You want to bring these under control, put yourself into good company, avoid bad company. And a lot of the time, the friends that drag you into sin, they drag you into sin because they don't want to feel guilty themselves. They want to make themselves feel good, so they drag. And this is so normal psychology. This is normal human psychology. So read any basic psychology online or something like that, it'll tell you. And when we do, and it's mentioned in the Quran a number of times, the people, when they never used to give charity, وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ, not only did they not used to give charity, but the people of Quraysh, they used to stop other people from giving charity. You think to yourself, why? Just let him give charity. Let's stop others so they don't feel guilty themselves that I'm not giving it. I don't want him to give it. If he gives it, people will say, why didn't you give it? Don't give him charity. These people are like this. They're always asking and begging. They don't have anything better to do. Don't give them charity. So you don't feel about that. You're justifying. I don't give it because I know what's going on. Don't worry. خير. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, وَحِفْظِ الْبَطَنَ عَنِ الشُّبْهَةِ وَعَنِ الشَّبْعِ. Save your stomach from doubts. Save your stomach from filling it unnecessarily. فَإِنَّ هَذِهِ مُحَرِّكَاتُ الشَّهْوَةِ وَمَغَارِسُهَا. These are the roots of your shahwa, your desires, your carnal desires, your base desires. These will stir your desires, and these will be. So for the private parts, fix the company. Focus and make an effort in the mind and the heart, and focus on controlling the eyes. And additionally, to control the eyes, the mind, and the heart, and dhikr, salah, these things, these will busy your mind. Learn about this religion, learn about Allah. As you learn about Allah, you'll become more conscious of Allah. It becomes easier for a person to avoid sin. It becomes so much easier for a person to avoid sin. I've mentioned this last time, didn't I? When I said to you guys that youngsters come and say, I don't have the willpower to stop this sin. So, what do you mean you don't have the willpower? I don't know. I try for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and then I mess up. I said, so what's the extent of your 5 days, 6 days, 7 days? No, I can't do that. Okay, fine. What if I put a camera on you for 1 month? Put a camera on you for 1 month and your father was watching this. Would you say? No, astaghfirullah. No. What do you mean, how would I sin? What do you mean? I thought you said you don't have the willpower. But my father's watching. I can't sin. I said, but what if you need to do the sin? No, what are you talking about? I said, what if your mother's watching? Your father's watching? Your teacher's watching? Consciousness, God consciousness. Allah is watching. Allah is watching. When that comes into a person's life, they won't be able to sin. They want taqwa. That's what taqwa is. That's a simple definition of taqwa. God consciousness. وَأَمَّا الْيَدَانِ. Imam Ghazali says, let's move on to the next body part. The hands. We're almost finished now. 2 more body parts left. Hands. وَأَمَّا الْيَدَانِ. The hands. فَاحْفَظْهُمَا عَنْ أَن تَضْرِبَ بِهِمَا مُسْلِمًا. Imam Ghazali says, be careful that you don't hit somebody with your hands. Don't hurt somebody with your hands. Don't use these hands where somebody is going to be hurt. أَوْ تَنَاوَلَ بِهِمَا مَالًا حَرَامًا. Don't use these hands in the acquisition of haram. Make sure you're not taking haram with this. Don't pick up something which doesn't belong to you. Don't touch something which doesn't belong to you. أَوْ تُؤْذِي بِهِمَا أَحَدًا مِنْ خَلْقِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. Forget Muslim, non-Muslim, forget any animals. خَلْقِ اللَّهِ, anything which is a creation of Allah, make sure you don't تُؤْذِي بِهِمَا. Don't hurt anybody with your hands. Learn to control our hands. Learn to control our hands. And with our hands, we've mentioned the tongue. Don't hurt somebody with your tongue. Don't hurt somebody with your hands. أَوْ تَخُونَ بِهِمَا فِي أَمَانَةٍ أَوْ وَدِيعَةٍ. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, and don't even deceive somebody when it comes to a trust. Somebody entrusts you with something. Somebody places something in your care. Don't misuse that trust. Don't misuse that trust. أَوْ تَكْتُبَ بِهِمَا مَا لَا يَجُوزُ النُّطْقُ بِهِ. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, why are you thinking about now? See, all this time we're thinking about other people's rights. Other people's rights. So I'm not going to hurt him. I'm not going to offend him. I'm not going to do this to him. I'm not going to take his wealth. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, what about your own stuff? What about your own stuff? Allah's given you a pen. Don't use that pen to write something haram. Don't write a testimony which is haram. فَإِنَّ الْقَلَمَ أَحَدُ اللِّسَانَيْنِ. The pen is just like the tongue. On the day of judgment, it will speak out against you. فَاحْفَظِ الْقَلَمَ عَمَّا يَجِبُ حِفْظُ اللِّسَانَ عَنْهُ. Whatever you protect the tongue with, and the way you protect the tongue, make sure you don't write something haram. Imam Ghazali is indicating to something for us in the 21st century. And the same way you're protecting your tongue, make sure that when you're protecting your tongue, you don't become a keyboard warrior on their mobile, and you start texting things that you shouldn't be texting, you message people things you shouldn't be messaging, or you're emailing things you shouldn't be messaging. And Ghazali rahmatullah says that will be a witness against you. So not only don't use your hands to hurt other people, but Imam Ghazali says you're so worried about other people, why are you forgetting yourself? You're harming yourself, you're destroying yourself, you're tearing your own ruh and your soul apart by not controlling your hands. Make sure you don't use it. Now, this again, because there's a lot of youngsters here, so I'll mention a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, beautiful hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in regard to summarizing how to use the mobile phone. You know, there's so many lengthy lectures on this is how you use a mobile phone, this is how you don't use a mobile phone, the benefits, the harms. In one hadith, I will summarize to you the principles of using a mobile phone. It's Abi Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu ta'ala narrates this hadith from the Prophet ﷺ, authentic hadith. He says, إِيَّاكُمْ وَالْجُلُوسِ فِي الطُّرُقَاتِ. The Prophet ﷺ said to the companions, listen to this carefully. The Prophet ﷺ said to the companions, do not sit in the pathways. The Sahaba, what they used to do is where the roads would meet, they used to sit in those roadways and they would speak. I don't know if you've been back home, you might have seen this. And usually in the certain cliques or certain checkpoints, you could say, where certain groups of elderly men will sit or youngsters will sit and they'll talk. They're going home, they'll stop at a certain point and they'll talk for a bit there. Then they'll start walking off again to go home and they'll stop at another point. Some people will stand outside stakeout like Yusuf, etc. So there's different places where people will stand. Yeah, Yusuf? You've got a name for him as well. They call him the stakeout soldier, mashallah. So إياكم والجلوس في الطرقات. So this is for all of us. That you have these, the Prophet ﷺ said to the companions, what did he say? I don't want you guys to sit in these places anymore. The companions were realistic. They were realistic. They weren't like, okay, fine, we're not going to be able to do it, but we'll just pretend like, okay, we'll do it and not do it. No. The companion said to the Prophet ﷺ, مَا لَنَا بُدَّ مِن مَجَالِسِنَا. The Prophet of Allah, but these are important places for us. This is نَتَحَدَّثُ فِيهَا. This is where we chill. This is where we talk. Imagine saying to a youngster today, don't use the mobile phone and get rid of it. What's the youngster going to say? But I need it. All my friends are on it. WhatsApp, this, that. How am I going to keep into contact? This hadith was 1400 years ago, but the principle applies the same. That you say to a youngster, you get rid of the mobile phone. So what's the Prophet ﷺ teaching us? The best option is don't have a mobile phone. Best option. But what if I need it? What if I need to contact my parents, even though when the parents' phone call comes, that's the one you ignore. But I need to contact my parents. I need to contact my parents. You know, the Prophet ﷺ said, fine. The companions were realistic. They said, look, we need to. These are the way we chill. So the Prophet ﷺ says, فَإِذَا أَبَيْتُمْ إِلَّا الْمَجْلِسِ. If you have to sit, and you're gonna sit, and you're gonna use your mobile, here's some principles. Number one, فَأْتُوا الطَّرِيقَ حَقَّهُ. Give rights to the people on the road. If you're just sat there and somebody's walking past, give them their right. Give them their right. When you're on your mobile phone and somebody calls you and there's a parent calling you, give them their rights. But when you sat on your mobile phone and your child comes and asks you a question, yeah. No. What do you mean, yeah? No. فَأْتُوا الطَّرِيقَ. Put the phone down just for a second. Communicate. Say, let me just finish this text. I'm in the middle of another conversation. Let me finish this. Give me a second. Finish that conversation. Then come to this conversation. I'm not saying that this conversation is more important than this one. I'm saying finish. Explain to this person. If you're speaking with somebody, just say, give me 1 second. I'm just going to finish this conversation. Same with a child. Say to them, give me 1 second. Let me finish this conversation and I'll speak to you. فَأْتُوا الطَّرِيقَ حَقَّهُ. If somebody comes to you and your parents are speaking to you, yeah, speak to them properly, have a conversation, and then when it's all finished, go back to it. Now, I know that some of the youngsters are saying, especially in the online gaming world, you can't pause it anymore. You can't pause a game, but you have to find a compromise. Say, look, I'll be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something, but communicate. فَأْتُوا الطَّرِيقَ. Give everybody their rights. Don't immerse yourself so much that somebody walks past and you're in their way and you're barging them in the street. Same way, don't be so immersed inside this that you're hurting somebody else's feelings. Number two, غض البصر. Lower your gaze. Now in the mobile, it won't work if you say lower the gaze, so you're looking at the mobile. What it means by lower the gaze is be cautious of what you're looking at. Instagram feed you're flicking through, and 101 things are going through that feed. Lower your gaze. Doesn't mean I'm lowering my gaze, I'm looking at everything. No, control what you're looking at. The Prophet said to the companions in the street, غَضُّ الْبَصَرِ. If somebody walks past, lower your gaze. If something nice walks past, don't be jealous and stare at it and this and that. Control yourself. We mentioned that not only is it haram, don't only want to avoid looking at the opposite gender. We also want to avoid looking at those things which can cause us to become jealous and this and that. So the Prophet says, غَضُّ الْبَصَرِ. Lower your gaze. On your mobile, look at those things which you need to look at. Important advice for youngsters. Principles of using the mobile phone given by Prophet 1400 years ago. وَكَفُّ الْأَذَى. كَفُّ الْأَذَى. Don't hurt somebody. Cyberbullying. Make sure that you're not hurting somebody's feelings. Make sure you're not texting somebody that will hurt their feelings. Make sure you're not interacting with somebody. And the problem with social interactions make us different. In the street, when you're with the boys and you're in that little clique, if somebody says something, you have to make sure you put them down because the street cred. On the mobile, on a WhatsApp group, it's the same concept. We still have the same animalistic features where if somebody says something on a group, we have to respond. We have to make sure we put them down. And if we don't find a way, we just send a GIF or something just to terrorize the person. But we have to find a way. It's the same thing in real life. It's the same thing on the mobile. You don't change the person just because you're on the mobile. Technically, you do. You become more audacious on the mobile because you can get away with more. And then you see the person, he smiles, and says, "Assalamu alaikum." Just joking. Just Kafful adha. Make sure you don't hurt somebody. Raddu salam. If somebody walks past in the street and gives salam, give them salam back. What does this mean on the mobile phone? Raddu salam. So yes, there's the give the salam also, but something deeper than that. What is salam? What is salam? Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. How can you say peace be upon you to somebody and at the same time you're planning on beating them up? You say assalamu alaikum to somebody, you're saying peace be upon you. At the same time you're about to terrorize them. It's this mindset, raddu salam. When you come across somebody, you're about to make a comment on Facebook, or you're about to make a comment on social media or this or that. Raddu salam. Make sure what you say is something which is nice. Something which is not unnecessary, but also something which is not there to terrorize the person. Like, did you just wake up? Or something like you see somebody's image or photo and you say, it just looks like you just woke up from the grave or something. Like something like, raddu salam, make sure what you say is nice. And finally, wal amr bil ma'roof wal nahy anil munkar. Use these devices to call people towards good. There's a lecture that you're attending, advise people to come. There's people who text me sometimes in a day 9, 10, 15 messages. This hadith and this and this. Every morning there's this one person who will send me Assalamu alaikum, good morning to you, Mufti, or something like that. Have a good day or something like that. Every morning. They will wish well. They wish well. But you get 8 or 9 messages and they become that kind of person where you see the message, you'll click it, you'll click off. You won't even read it. And then people won't benefit from you. So when we say amr bil ma'ruf, we don't say force it down somebody's throat. But in good measure, with wisdom, wa nahy anil munkar, prevent from evil. If something wrong happens on a group, ghibah takes place, be smart enough to bring up a different discussion. Be smart enough to be able to tactfully avoid sin. That's the hadith. Amazing, isn't it? Subhanallah, beautiful hadith. The words of the Prophet ﷺ, timeless. We'll learn it inshallah once we study these things inshallah. So Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, it's not just enough for you to control your tongue, but your hands also. Don't write something which is haram. Don't text something which is haram. Protect your fingers, protect your hands. And finally, the last body part, وَأَمَّا الرِّجْلَانِ, the feet, the legs. فَاحْفَظْهُمَا عَنْ أَن تَمْشِيَ بِهِمَا إِلَى حَرَامٍ. Be very cautious that you do not walk towards haram. The majority of the sins after the tongue is you walking towards haram. Because when you get there, then you'll use the tongue. Then you'll use that. Understand? أو تسعى بهما إلى باب سلطان ظالم. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi is speaking to a student of his. So he says, be very careful that you don't go to the doors of the leaders. Sultan zalimin, an oppressive leader. You going to the doors of an oppressive leader is you giving them, what's the word? You're kind of approving the actions. فَالْمَشْيُ إِلَى السَّلَاطِينِ الظَّلَمَةِ مِنْ غَيْرِ ضَرُورَةٍ وَإِرَاقٍ. Without necessity, it's ma'asiyatun. It's a sin in and of itself. فَإِنَّهُ تَوَاضُعٌ وَإِكْرَامٌ لَهُمْ. You're humbling yourself before them. You're lowering yourself before them. In this time, we don't have, in this our context, we don't have sultan dhalim. We don't have oppressive leaders as such that we interact with on a day-to-day basis, that we come across. But there are people that we come across on a day-to-day basis who are similar to sultan dhalim. A person who we know is abusive in the home. Don't grant amnesty to an individual like this. Call it out. Call it out in the proper way. Not call it out in the sense that you make an announcement on the mic and say this person's like this. That's not going to cause benefit. But call that action out in the way that find a way to benefit the people. So Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says Sultanun Dhalim. Don't, if you know there's something wrong taking place, don't be okay with it happening in society just because it's a taboo subject or something like that. Bring it up. Do what you need to do to tackle that issue. Right? If there's an issue of drugs, do something about it. Do something about it. We've received in the last month or so 3-4 concerns regarding drugs within families. So we then got into contact with the NHS and we said, we want you guys to work with us. We want to set up a clinic here, a rehab clinic. And they said, let's go ahead. And so we're working on this to get this. Also, a number of awareness thing is also going into the prisons. We've got a team that's going to go into the prison and work with specifically the Muslim inmates in regard to drugs and all of these things. Because the amount of Muslims who are involved in drugs in prisons is ajib. It's ajib. And so these kind of things, we have to be proactive. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah is saying is, even when something wrong and oppressive is taking place, don't side with it. Don't be okay with it. Don't let it just happen. Don't let it just happen. Find somebody, find an ally, find somebody who can help in that regard. And so he says, فَإِنَّهُ تَوَاضُعٌ وَإِكْرَامٌ لَهُمْ. You're just allowing it. You're making it seem okay. وَقَدْ أَمَرَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى بِالْإِعْرَاضِ عَنْهُم. Allah has commanded us to avoid this. وَهُوَ تَكْفِيرٌ لِسَوَادِهِمْ. By you going and spending time, you're increasing their standing and their clout. If they see somebody like you there, they'll think, oh look, this person's a respectable person. That means that this person must be okay. Don't give them this amnesty. وَإِعَانَةٌ لَهُمْ عَلَى ظُلْمِهِمْ. They'll feel okay to do this sin. They'll feel okay to do this oppression. So Imam Ghazali is talking about your feet. Don't go in a place where you are promoting evil. This is for us to now think. What place could I go? Which place could I spend my money which is promoting evil, and avoid those places? فإن كان ذلك سببا لطلب أموالهم فهو سعي إلى حرام. This is you going towards haram. And Ghazali rahmatullah says, فإن كان ذلك سببا لطلب أموالهم. Even if you're going to them just to seek their money, فهو سعي إلى حرام. That also is a haram. Why Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says this? Imam Ghazali rahmatullah is very, very against this idea of asking from the creation. Yes, there are times when you need to turn to the creation. Specialists in a field, you need to turn to them. But he says when it comes to wealth and you are capable of earning your wealth, don't go towards somebody who's oppressive just to get money from them. Why? Because you'll take money from them, you won't be able to speak out against them. And this is why Imams as well. Imams have to be very careful when it comes to accepting gifts. Because people will give you gifts with all sorts of motives. And then they give you a gift, and then you have to speak out against the riba, interest. And you're thinking, but this person gave me this gift. I can't speak out because he's the guy who's involved in the riba the most. How do I do this? Allahu Akbar. وَلَا تَشْتَرُوا بِآيَاتِي ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا. Don't sell this religion for something small. And so that's why Imams have to be cautious. Students have to be cautious. Students who are becoming scholars have to be very cautious about who they accept gifts and everything from. And Ghazali rahmatullah is indicating towards this. And there's a hadith of the Prophet إِزْهَدْ فِي الدُّنْيَا يُحِبُّكَ اللَّهُ. I've said this so many times. إِزْهَدْ فِي الدُّنْيَا يُحِبُّكَ اللَّهُ. Abstain from the things of this world, Allah will love you. Don't go after the riches of this world. If it comes to you, alhamdulillah. If Allah has blessed you, alhamdulillah. If Allah has given you a job where you're getting it, alhamdulillah. But don't sell yourself for it. Don't compromise on your principles to go after this world. Izhad fi dunya yuhibbuka Allah, wazhad fima 'inda an-nas yuhibbuka an-nas. Avoid what the people have, and the people will love you. Don't go running after what people have. I want this from you, and I want this from you, and mashallah, oh, Allah's given you so much, mashallah, it looks so beautiful. You have an itar and somebody says, mashallah, the itar looks really nice, I've been looking for itar like that. Does it smell good? Does it smell like here, smells some. Mashallah, I've been looking everywhere for this, Sell it to me, innit? And he's not going to sell it to you. He's not going to sell it to you. Say, keep it. You sure? You've already put it in your pocket. You sure? وَازْهَدْ فِيمَا عِنْدَ النَّاسِ. You'll become that person who people will know, this guy just comes for this or for that. Don't be that person. وَازْهَدْ فِيمَا عِنْدَ النَّاسِ. If somebody offers it, you just go get it yourself. Just go get it yourself, inshallah. And if it's not written for you now, it will be written for you later. If it's not written for you later, inshallah, in Jannah. It'll be better for you in Jannah, inshallah. وَازْهَدْ فِيمَا عِنْدَ النَّاسِ. Don't go after what the people have. Avoid what the people have. Even if they offer you and even if they beg you to take it, avoid it. Yeah, it's okay, Jazakallah. I don't. Yes, if the gifting is all different, but context, they all plays a part. وَعَلَى الْجُمْلَةِ. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, in conclusion, فَحَرَكَاتُكَ. So he said after finishing all of these 8 body parts, he says, فَحَرَكَاتُكَ. Where's Musa? Is he left? He's left. I told him 9:45 I'll finish. And then last minute, I don't know why I changed. I said 9:30. So now he's going to pick up the food. It's going to be so. وعلى الجملة, in conclusion, فحركاتك وسكناتك بأعضائك نعمة من نعم الله تعالى عليك. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, look, I know I've been a bit harsh, and I know I've been this and that, but look, really understand this. Really just take this one point away, that these are blessings from Allah. Wallahi, there are people who don't have hands. There are people who don't have feet. There are people who don't have eyes. There are people who don't have ears. What did I do to deserve these eyes? Really, did I do something special to deserve these eyes? What makes me different to another person who doesn't? Really, what did I do to deserve this? If anything, my actions warrant Allah removing this blessing from me. Imam Ghazali says that every single thing Allah has given you is a ni'mah from Him, is a blessing from Him. Use it in that way. فَلَا تُحَرِّكْ شَيْئًا مِنْهَا. Don't even move an inch في معصية الله عز وجل. أصلا, in the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can you? How can I do this? It's a blessing from Allah. وَاسْتَعْمِلْهَا فِي طَاعَةِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. You are a human being. Allah has created you, the ashraful makhluqat, the best of creation. Don't just avoid sin. Use this body part in doing good. Go do good. Find good to do, inshallah. Use this body in good. وَعَلَمْ إِنْ قَصَّرْتَ. Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says, if you don't listen to what I have to say, فَإِلَيْكَ يَرْجِعُ وَبَالُ. You will face the consequences of your actions. You will face the consequences of your actions. You don't protect your eyes, you will face the consequences of your actions. You don't protect, and in this world and the hereafter. In this world and the hereafter, you will see what this world is, a place of cause and effect. Do the sin and watch how it affects you and harms you. وَإِن شَمَّرْتَ. Ghazali rahmatullah says, however, shammarta, if you roll up your sleeves and you really get to work. Why is he saying roll up your sleeves? He's saying it's not going to be easy. When there's a task at hand which is difficult, you roll up your sleeves. Imam Ghazali says, if you make this intention, from today, inshallah, I've had enough. From today, I will change my ways. I'm going to do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're genuine, if you're sincere, you make a change today, فَإِلَيْكَ تَعُودُ ثَمَرَتُهُ. You will get the reward of this. You will get the benefits of this. You will see the fruits of it in this world. You will see how people treat you differently. You will see how people are drawn towards you. You will see how people are affected by your presence. وَاللَّهُ غَنِيٌّ عَنْكَ. Allah is independent from you. Allah doesn't need us. Allah doesn't need us for a moment. Allah's religion will prosper. Allah mentions in a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, Allah will take the work of this deen even from a rajulun fasiq, even from a sinful person. Allah doesn't need us. Allah can take this work of deen from a non-Muslim if He wants, and He has done in the past. He has done in the past. Wallahu ghaniyun anka wa an amalik. Allah doesn't need your actions. Really? You think Allah needs our actions? When in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the sajda of my Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam has gone. You think my sajda is of any worth to Allah? My sajda doesn't benefit Allah. وَإِنَّمَا كُلُّ نَفْسٍ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ رَهِينَ. My actions benefit me. My salah benefits me. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah, and amazing the word of the Quran, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ رَهِينَةٌ. Rahina is where you entrust somebody with something. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah, through this Quran ayat he's using, he says, what you pledged, you will get. And lose this mindset that you're spending in the path of Allah. You're not spending in the path of Allah. You're not spending in the path of Allah. You're investing. When you spend something, it's gone. It's spent. You're investing in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're going to get it back. And when you sit down and you really think about this, Ajib, sometimes when you think about this, it's not even really an investment when you think about it. An investment is I go and earn some money and then I come and I say, here's £1,000, I want you to invest this, and inshallah you'll get X percentage of shares and profits or whatever, and you take that. That's not what's happened here. Let's think about this. In this case scenario, it's basically, okay, let me give you an example. Imagine somebody comes to you and says, give me £5, or give me £10, wait 7 months, after 7 months, I'll give you £10,000. Is there any, and he's legit, he's shown it works, he's not trying to, if somebody comes to you and says this, don't take their word for it, right? The amount of emails that I get from somebody who's got some gold business and they're trying to give me millions, and I just need to transfer this money to you, and inshallah, not inshallah, but you'll become this money, and I'm the relative of the Prince of Africa, and I have this, and you get all sorts of emails coming into your spam. If somebody says to you that give me £10, I'll give you £10,000, say I'll take my risks, inshallah, it's okay, But imagine somebody does and they're legitimate and they're genuine. Who's going to say no? If they're genuine, everything works out, £10 for £10,000 in 7 months. Who's going to say no? I take £10. If I make it, I make it. If I don't, it's not much of a loss. It's a worthy investment. That's not how Allah operates, though. This is how Allah operates. Allah's come. Allah's given you the £10. And Allah says, I gave you this £10. Give it back to me. Give it back to me and I will give you £10,000. Because the money we have isn't ours. It was given to us from Allah. So Allah gave us the money in the first place. And Allah said, you know what, actually, give it back to me and I'll give you £10,000. That's the situation with Allah. Allah is saying that what I've given you, I want you to invest it. And I gave it you in the first place. Not only did I give it you now, just give it back to me, I'll give you so much more in the hereafter. And this comparison of 10 to 10,000, it's unfair when it comes to the hereafter, because the hereafter is eternal. And the way Allah will repay us, subhanAllah, there's no comparison. وَإِيَّاكَ أَن تَقُولِ Imam Ghazali says, I'm concluding now. Imam Ghazali says, but I don't want you to go away and say, إِنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى كَرِيمٌ رَحِيمٌ. Allah is so forgiving and merciful. يَغْفِرُ ذُنُوبَ الْعُصَاةِ. He'll forgive my sins. Let me sin now, Allah will forgive all my sins. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, all this time I've been telling you, Allah's forgiving, Allah's forgiving, Allah's forgiving. But I'm worried that what if there's somebody sat here who thinks, Allah's forgiving, Allah's forgiving. Sin, it's okay, sin. Allah will forgive. فَإِنَّ هَذِهِ كَلِمَةٌ حَقٍّ كَلِمَةُ حَقٍّ. Allah says that although your statement is true, Allah is forgiving. أُرِيدَ بِهَا بَاطِلٌ. Your intention with it is bad. Well, he explains it. What does he say? He goes, he says, وصاحبها ملقب بالحماقة بتلقيب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حيث قال. This person, he's foolish, he's beyond help. Why? The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم الكيس, who's the intelligent person? من دان نفسه, he prepares himself. وعمل لما بعد الموت, and he prepares for the hereafter. He prepares for the hereafter. وَالْأَحْمَقْ, and the foolish person, مَنْ أَتْبَعَ نَفْسَهُ وَهَوَاهَا, he follows his desires. وَتَمَنَّى عَلَى اللَّهِ الْأَمَانِ, and he hopes that inshallah Allah will forgive me. Inshallah Allah will forgive me. So now the question comes, then how do we find the balance? Allah is forgiving and compassionate. On one side we're saying Allah is compassionate, forgiving, He'll forgive you. On the other side we're saying, don't you dare say Allah is forgiving, Allah is compassionate, and sin like that. So this is where the scholars distinguish between khawf and raja. Fear and hope. And very simply, scholars, we have wrote pages and books on this. Al-Khawf Raja, I'll summarize it for you. The conclusion of Al-Khawf Raja, fear and hope, is this. Before you sin, instill within yourself the fear of Allah. Before you sin, remind yourself, Allah will punish me. No, I don't want to do this. That's not the highest level. By the higher level is to say, Allah loves me so much, how can I sin? But I'm saying if you want to do it at the basic level, instill before the sin, say, Allah will punish me. No, I don't want the punishment. I don't want the wrath of Allah. I don't want the anger of Allah. Say you tried, you slipped. Now once you've slipped and you've sinned, now come to the hope of Allah. Look, I made a mistake. Inshallah, Allah will forgive me. Inshallah, Allah will forgive me. In that instance, that's how you should go. So what did we learn? Number one, when you're about to sin, remind yourself of the fear of Allah. After you sin, the forgiveness of Allah, the mercy of Allah. What does shaitan do? He works the opposite. Before you're about to sin, the mercy of Allah. Shaitan will come in and say, Allah's so merciful, He'll forgive you, do the same. You're still young, you have so many years to live. After you sin, astaghfirullah, you sinned. Allah will never forgive you. What's the point of making tawbah? You always sin, you're gonna seek forgiveness, you're gonna sin again. You're gonna seek forgiveness. That's how you combine the two. Al-Khawf before you sin. Instill within yourself the fear of Allah before you sin. After you sin, turn to the hope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Ghazali says, don't be a foolish person. Don't be one of those people who says that before you sin, Allah's forgiving, Allah will forgive me. Let me do it. وَعَلَمَ أَنَّ قَوْلَكَ هَذَا يُضَاهِي قَوْلَ مَنْ يُرِيدُ. Think of this statement of yours. It's like that person who comes and says, أَيَّصِيرَ فَقِيهًا. I'm going to become a scholar. فِي عُلُومِ الدِّينِ. I'm going to become the greatest scholar of this time. وَاشْتَغَلَ بِالْبَطَالَةِ. And he sits at home playing Fortnite. He sits at home wasting his time. Frivolous activity, just wasting his time. I'm going to become the greatest scholar of this time. doesn't do anything, sits around, just plays games on his mobile. وقال, and he says, no, you guys don't understand. إن الله رحيم كريم. Allah is merciful, compassionate. قادر. Allah is capable على أن يفيض على قلبي من العلوم. He can put all the knowledge in my heart in one go. That's Allah's capable of doing this. مع فاضل, he said, and not only that, he'll go a step further and say, did you not see Allah did it for the prophets? Allah did it for the prophets, He'll do it for me. And let me sit around and chill. It'll come into my heart. من غير جهد, without any efforts, وتكرار, without any studies, وتعليق, without making any notes, without reviewing anything. فهو كقول من يريد مالا. It's like that person who wants to make money. وترك الحراثة, he leaves business والتجارة والكسب. He doesn't do any of these things. وتعطل, and he just sits around, relaxes, lazy, sits at home, and he says, I'm going to become a millionaire. I'm going to become the richest man alive. Forbes top 50. I'm going to become. And he says, how? You're not doing it. Inna Allah kareemun raheemun. Allah is merciful. Allah is compassionate. Walahu khazainu. Do you know my Allah? He has the keys to the heavens and the earth. وهو قادر, if he wanted, أن يطلعني على كنز من الكنوز. He'll shower me with treasures and gifts. فاستغني به على الكسب. I won't have to make any effort. فقد فعل ذلك ببعض عباده. Allah has even done this with some of his slaves. You know, when you hear somebody say this, imagine your own children say this to you. Allah will provide for me. Allah will provide. Don't worry about it. How will you react to this child? You'll start with more. Sort yourself out. فأنت إذا سمعت كلام هذين الرجلين استحمقتهما. And we're finishing now. If somebody was to say these two things, you think, what a foolish person this is. What an idiot, man. Who thinks like this? Sorry, Musa. Sorry. You think this person's an idiot. What kind of a fool is this? وسخرت منهما. And you'd mock them. You'd make a joke out of them. وَإِنْ كَانَ مَا وَصَفَاهُ مِنْ كَرَمِ اللَّهِ. Even though what they've said regarding, they were true. Were they not right? They were right. They said that Allah is merciful, Allah is compassionate, Allah is this. But فَكَذَلِكَ يَضْحَكُ عَلَيْكَ أَرْبَابُ الْبَصَائِرِ. You laugh at them in the same way the scholars, the students, those individuals who Allah has given an understanding of this world and the hereafter. They laugh at that individual. في الدين إذا طلبت المغفرة من غير سعي لها. That person who looks for forgiveness from Allah without putting his effort in. You have to put effort in and then seek the forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Ghazali concludes and says, Wallahu ta'ala yaqulu laka. Does Allah not say to you, وَأَنَّ لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. That you will have nothing other than what you put in. You have to put some effort in. Cause and effect. Cause and effect. لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ. A human gets nothing. إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. Except what they put in. وَيَقُولُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ إِنَّمَا تُجْزَوْنَ مَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. You'll be given in accordance to what you did. You have to plant the seed to get from the fruits. وَيَقُولُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارَ لَفِي نَعِيمٍ. Who is going to be in heaven? Al-Abrar, those people who did good. There's a cause and an effect. وإذا لم يترك الإنسان السعي في طلب العلم والمال اعتمادا على كرمه عز وجل. Imam Ghazali concludes and he says, look at your lives. You don't say, the money will come, don't worry about it. Let me sit at home, it will come. You don't say, the knowledge will come, let me sit at home, it will come. He says, the same way your provisions for this world, you don't say, it will come. Don't do the same with the provisions of your hereafter. The provisions of the hereafter are just as important. فَكَذَلِكَ لَا يَتْرُكُ التَّزَوُّدِ الْآخِرَةِ وَلَا تَخْتَرْ فَإِنَّ رَبَّ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ وَاحِدٌ. The Lord of this world is the same as the Lord of that world. The Lord of this world expects you to do something in this world for earnings. He also expects you to do something in that world for earnings. Don't think, in this world I have to put the work in, but in that world, inshallah, Allah will give me. The world, the Rabb is the same. He applies the same principles here as he applies there. Put the effort in here and you'll get here. Put the effort in there and you'll also get there, inshallah. وَهُوَ فِيهِمَا كَرِيمٌ رَحِيمٌ. Yes, he is Kareemun. He is loving. He is compassionate. وَلَيْسَ يَزِيدُ لَهُ كَرَمُ بِمُؤْنِكَ. And then Imam Ghazali rahmatullah mentions a few more things. He says that, and gives a few more advices. I'll quickly summarize. He says that Allah doesn't gain anything by giving you. Allah doesn't lose anything by withholding from you. This is not how Allah works. Allah gives us these things. يُسَهِّلَ عَلَيْكَ طَرِيقَ الْوُصُولِ. Allah gives us so it facilitates our route to Jannah. That's what Allah is giving us. Allah wants us to get into Jannah. Al-Mukhallad bis-sabri ala tarki ash-shahawat. Ayyaman qala'il. Ghazali says, really, it's a few days. I say to youngsters who are at the age of 20, 21, 22, 23, 1/3 of your life is gone. 1/3. Tell me, what can you tell me about that 1/3 of your life? 1/3 of your life is gone. It's a few days in this world. It's a few days in this world. Do what you need to do. Put the effort in for this world. Put the effort in for the hereafter. Control yourself. It's a few days. You look back at it, inshallah, every single one of us will be in Jannah, inshallah. And we'll look back at it and we'll think, yeah, it was a few days. What was the tension I was worrying about? What was this? These are the moments that will matter. And Jannah will be sat, it won't be me talking, it will be the Prophet ﷺ talking. It will be Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali saying, do you remember the time when this happened? And Umar will be saying, do you remember the time when this happened? And we'll be sat amongst the companions and they'll be discussing their lives. And we'll be sat like little students, like, Subhanallah. It's happened, we're in Jannah. And then we'll get to see Allah. We get to see Allah. That's what we're working for. Few days of effort, my friends. Few days of effort. Wallahi, few days of effort. This is how we should remind ourselves. I just have to put in a little bit of, control myself a little bit in eternity, in Jannah, in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in His pleasure. وَهَذِهِ نِهَايَةُ الْكَرَمِ. This is what it's all about. Imam Ghazali says, فَلَا تُحَدِّثْ نَفْسَكَ بِهَوْسَاتِ الْبَطَّالِينَ Don't follow the ways of the people, Battalin, Hawasat, he uses the word. You know, evil has a clamor, has a big noise, there's a hype around evil. People will hype, oh, there's this event taking place, there's this event taking, there's this. Don't run towards these things and these exciting things, advertisements and this and that. Don't. He says, وَاقْتَدِي بِأُولُو الْحَزْمِ Go towards the people of intellect. Those people who have recognized this world and the hereafter from the prophets, from the Siddiqeen, the Salihin. وَلَا تَطْمَعْ فِي أَن تَحْسُدَ مَا لَمْ تَزْرَعْ He literally is finishing now and he says, I've said this 3 times now, he says, وَلَا تَطْمَعْ فِي أَن تَحْسُدَ مَا لَمْ تَزْرَعْ Do not be foolish and expect fruits from that place where you didn't plant a seed. Don't go to the hereafter expecting this and that when you didn't plant those seeds. Don't expect this. He says, plant your seeds. وَلَيْتَ مَنْ صَلَّى وَصَامَ وَجَاهَدَ وَاتَّقَى وَغُفِرَ لَهُ We have hope in Allah that the person who puts his effort in, he prays his salah, he fasts, he fights against himself. Jahad, that's the next family for the Arabic students. Jahada yujahidu jihadan. So that's the next family. We've done 2 families. Allama yu'allim wa ta'alim. Akhbara yukhbiru ikhbaran. So next one is Jahada. Jahada yujahidu jihadan wa mujahadatan fa mujahidun. Inshallah, it's coming. And then he concludes. He says, that's it. That's it. وَهَذِهِ جُمَلُ مَا يَنْبَغِي أَن تَحْفَظْ عَنْهُ جَوَارِحِكَ الظَّاهِرَةِ This is all you need to know regarding your external body. You think you're finished. Ghazali says to his student, we're just getting started. وَأَعْمَالُ هَذِهِ الْجَوَارِحِ Where do you think these actions of the body are coming from? You think they come from nowhere? إِنَّمَا تَتَرَشَّحُ مِنْ صِفَاتِ الْقَلْبِ These come from the qualities within. These, you've done the exoteric, the external, but know that your actions are a result and a product of your heart. Now it's time to rip your heart apart. And now it's time to see what's inside. And this is where Imam Ghazali goes into his depth. This is where Imam Ghazali comes in his element, where he talks about the qualities of the heart. And every action of yours is a product of what's within. What's within. And they say in it that if you want to know a person's heart, listen to their speech. And their speech will be a product of the actions, all of these things they say. And your external is basically a product of your internal. So Imam Ghazali rahmatullah says, we're just getting started. I've given you the pointers. But if you really think that you've got somewhere, you can make a few steps with this. But now it's about the inside. You know, the envy and the jealousy and all of these things. Inshallah, we can continue next week, inshallah. So, subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanallah. Any questions? Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanallah wa bihamdi. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Imam Ghazali, Imam Ghazali is just on another level. And we say Imam Ghazali is on another level. Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is on another level. And Imam Ghazali is just a product of 500 years of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's taking from what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam shone on this earth and taught to us. If we take a chunk of what Imam Ghazali taught us, how much have we taken from what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us? An iota of it. And so what we want, this is why we have these series, that we're starting to learn about this religion through Imam Ghazali. But Imam Ghazali isn't the objective. The objective is Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we learn about the companions, the Sahaba, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam through these individuals. And inshallah, we get there gradually, inshallah. Seems like everybody's tired today. So we'll wrap it up there. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi subhanallah. Any questions?
Just one
question.
It's about halal earnings, investments. I think to invest in shares is not permissible because by owning shares, you own a share of that company. And there's all the companies that are out there on the stock exchange listed. They all have borrowings. They all raise money through the money markets and they pay interest on them. So on that basis, by somebody purchasing shares in those companies that trade with borrowed money on which they pay interest, makes you indulge in riba.
The question is regarding shares. A lot of the Arabic class lot have also asked about these kind of questions, and I'm putting together a series specifically on all of this. The reason being, I'll tell you why. It's technical and it's also lengthy. It's not always as black and white, because based off that argument, somebody could say that putting money in a bank is also problematic, because that bank is investing in X, Y, and Z. And so even placing my money in a bank would not be okay. And so a lot of things have to be taken into consideration, and it is very detailed. I'm not fobbing off your question. We will answer it, inshallah, with a proper, when we put it together. There was Harith. It's Harith not here today. He asked a question, I think it was like, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, regarding the compilation of the Quran, and he wanted it in like 5 minutes. I said to him, we'll cover it, inshallah. And then what happened was, after about 2 months, I put together the series, alhamdulillah, of the compilation, preservation of Quran. That was 10 hours series. So that's on YouTube as well. Delivery was actually, I still need to upload most of it. I've uploaded chunks of it in thingies. We will answer that. But just because it's a lengthy discussion, if I had tried to tell Harith in that gap of 5-10 minutes, and everyone's waiting for the food, and Musa is about to throw something at me, this is the answer. It'll take a while. So inshallah, we'll give it due attention. A lot of these things, specifically business, a lot of youngsters have the question on insurance. A lot of youngsters have the question on, finance and this and that. All of these things. Inshallah, we will cover these things, inshallah. But all in due course, inshallah. Make sure you stay for food. Food arrangements have been made. Have something before you leave, inshallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Any questions from the sisters? Alhamdulillah.
Not gonna lie, yeah, you did all right today.